Pretty much, with very rare exception, any songwriter who talks about their vocation had some sort of, actually as Vance mentioned in his performance workshop on Monday, music is a communal experience. It's a way of building community. And pretty much everybody has experienced some sort of live performance or hearing a song on the radio where you feel, connected to people. And I would like to know, what was your sort of activating musical experience where you went, I would like to do that, whatever just happened there. Sort of what opened up the parameter of like, music is a verb as well as a noun. Vance, would you like to start?
I guess I have to go with my first I'd like to do music experience. I mean, I was forced to play clarinet as a kid because my brother had the clarinet before, and that was what was in the house. So I got the clarinet handed down to me, and I played it. I played it all right for the 3 weeks I played it. And then I got to college. I always wanted to, I played little rhythm things and everything else. Nothing made me want to do music until I saw a guy in college in 1975. I went to a coffee house because it was the cheap thing to do. Everyone else was leaving campus. I had to stay on campus because I didn't have money. And I went to a coffee house, and this guy came out with a guitar, and he played, I can't remember David's last name, but he played Midnight at the Oasis, he played Sunday Kind of Love, he played these handfuls of tunes that were just, for the 30 people that were sitting on rugs and pillows, they were just rap. And it was the pop music of the times, and he was a pretty good slinger and sang it in his own way, and I just saw people take him in. And I'd never seen anything like that, and I bringing it up all the time because I'm a black kid that grew up in Philadelphia, and it was some of the first live music I'd ever heard. Coming out of inner city schools and so on and so forth, and I come to college and I go to a coffee house. I had no idea what it was about, but this guy with the guitar just had people watching him, and I was like, God, I'd like to be watched like that. And that was the beginning of my illustrious career. I've gone all the way from absolute unknown up to the ranks of relatively obscure where I am now. I'll just take 5 more seconds. It was an entertainment moment. It wasn't a musical moment. It was long before I could actually be considered musical, but I felt like I saw an entertainer, and that's what I wanted to do.
And it wasn't like, that guy's so cool and powerful, all eyes are on him. It was the sort of everyone's all stitched together around this guy. Yeah. And you wanted to be that stitch.
I wanted to be that. I wanted to be a white guy with a guitar. I know, right?
Me too. Yeah. Seems nice.
Me 3.
Get a whole cruise around yourself sometimes. What? It's true. It's a compliment.
For me, I think, would you mind sticking some of my voice in this monitor? For me, I think that songwriting moment is different from the performing version of that moment. Because for songwriting, there was a song called Alone Again Naturally that was on the radio in 1972 or something. And it was kind of this bouncy little 70s pop song. And I was listening to it with a friend of mine, and she goes, "You know what that song's about, right?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "It's about a guy who wants to kill himself." Which it is. And I was like, whoa. Because it felt like this was, I don't know, like a secret, like hiding in plain sight, this sort of secret message almost that you could have in a song, which is very appealing to have things that you talk about in a song that you didn't necessarily have to be accountable for, I guess. So there was something that was very appealing about that. And for performance, I think I didn't really feel like it was possible for me to be a performer until kind of punk and new wave, where the vibe was literally anything goes. Get on stage and do any like crazy noise. It doesn't matter.
Can I ask you a question? How did you, in that do anything crazy, anything goes sort of milieu, how did you end up being so musical? Because watching you play bass yesterday, I was like, oh my God, it's like a tall, thin, white James Jemison. I was like, damn, baby.
Oh, what a sweet thing to say. Oh
your
my God,
bass
that's
playing is
fucking awesome. I love
I
it.
don't want to go smoke up your skirt, but your bass playing is slamming. Your pocket is great.
That is the nicest
Your
thing.
musicality it's huge. It's huge. And I'm a Jamerson fan. I'm a Marcus Miller fan. And, you know, there's no slapping and anything. You know why you didn't slap? Because you didn't have to.
I used to slap. Yeah.
Am I right about, you know, the players that take the thumb out when they don't
really
have to?
Yeah.
When it doesn't, I mean,
I
it's...
keep it very simple. You're very nice.
No,
I mean, you know, I had heard about a music school called Berklee College of Music that I was told you did not have to audition for, because I really did not know. I played like 3 chords on acoustic guitar and I could not really sing. And so I didn't, but I was one of those people who felt like, you know, I would learn by reading and you know, learning, and I thought, like, well, maybe if I learn about music, I will know if I have any talent or not. And at the point where I realize where I hit a brick wall, then I'll stop and do something else. And so I went to the school. It was like I didn't get into the main thing. I did a summer session, and I worked my ass off. And I wanted to be a bass player. I don't know why, but that was very appealing. And so I just practiced. I was one of those kids who practiced like 4 hours a day, and then they let me into the regular session and in the regular semester, and I started a band, like a punk band, and just, you know, for me it was like a long learning curve, like how to be in bands and writing songs and writing a million of terrible songs, and, you know, I don't know, it's like you got to practice. I'm a big believer in practicing.
Well, and it's a great point that there's a separation between the draw to compose songs and the draw to perform for other people, and there's sort of, I guess, igniting incidents in both. And you're sort of activated in both directions. Like there's a song you connect with where you're like, I want to make people feel like that, and then you see someone in a room doing that thing, and you go, I want to, you know, synchronize the air going through everybody's ears all at once. There's a power to that. Yeah. And so. And some, I think you can be bit by the bug you can be bit by one bug first. Mega Man, were you bit by the performer bug or the songwriter, the composer bug first?
I feel like it was the performer bug. Honestly, it was Weird Al for me. I think just seeing such a dynamic performer, being able to just have fun with himself, with lyrics, with creativity, and I guess for the wrong reason, it drew me to performing, because, you know, all I'd seen was the parody stuff, and I'm like, oh, you don't even have to like make real music. Like you could just like, you know, make fun of someone else's stuff and be funny. And so I attempted to do that with video games. You know, I would play a video game and then record the music to the game with my little recorder next to the TV, and attempt to come up with lyrics to Super Mario. You know, things like that. And then I think it just fast forward, it was I think on the like performance, well, beyond performing, but I think writing songs and lyrics, for me it wasn't 1 man, it was 9. There was RZA, Jizza, Old Dirty Bastard, Inspector Deck, You Got, Ghostface Killer, Method Man. It was the Wu-Tang Clan. And I remember we had a really low budget TV video show in Philadelphia called Video Vibrations or something. And if you held the antennas just right, you could get it on Saturday nights. And the very first line of the song, the rapper says, swinging through your town like your neighborhood Spider-Man. And I was like, I get that reference. And like immediately my worlds came together as a comic book lover, video game lover, and hip hop lover. It's like, oh, you can do these things together.
I love it.
And it can work, and it can be most importantly good. And so from then, man, I got a composition book, And I just started. I was like, all right, well, what can I write about Iceman, or something like that. And so yeah, I think that's how it started for me. It's Weird Al and Wu-Tang, as odd as that sounds.
It's such a mix. That's so great.
Fantastic. And I always loved, because Weird Al was a sort of inciting influence for me too, because he puts on an amazing live show, but I always love how he respects the rhyme scheme and the lyrical structure of whoever he's parodying. And then I feel like his format, like You Don't Love Me Anymore is a great example of like, there's sort of a nugget of earnest feeling in the middle, just undercut every other line with jokes. And I went, I do that. I know what that is. Cool, Weird Al. You have curly hair, I do too. Sweet, let's get together.
That's so great. That is so great.
Good.
I wasn't one on the big funny song thing. I had funny songs, and I ended up having some funny songs. But I think what I wanted to do was, I came up funny. I came up in Philly.
Yeah.
As, or West Oak Lane, Germantown.
What? Me too. Hold up.
Shut the front door. No, sir. What?
Wait a minute.
Wait, where's your mama? Did I? What? Dad, what? Is your college education paid for? I hope so. Well, we moved to Willingboro, New Jersey when I was 10 anyway. So there was, a lot of Philly, so still Philly radio and stuff. But when I started doing this music, I was already a funny guy. I've always been a funny guy. And what I was looking for in the music was legitimacy. So oddly enough, when I came up in college, and everything that everyone was listening to, I was also playing bass in as many kind of funk bands as I could get my hands on. Early, Herbie Hancock stuff, and late Miles kind of stuff, and playing that kind of funk stuff, and Earth, Wind and Fire. But at the same time, it was a college that was 90% white, so I was infused with James Taylor, Livingston Taylor, and all the white people whose names begin with J. That was my whole thing. All the folk music, Judy Collins,
James
Jackson, John Denver. It goes on and on. And the next thing I knew, I had a guitar, and I was trying to play Motown on it and sound like James Taylor or Kenny Rankin, or something like that. But in between the tunes, that's when I was at my funniest. But the tunes themselves, I wanted to be legitimate, and I wasn't, believe it or not, I wasn't musical enough to pull that off until a while after that. So I kind of did what you did. I went after the musical thing hard to get as musical as I could. Graduated from college with a biology degree, but came to Boston and roommated with everybody that went to Berkeley. It was like going to Berkeley on the cheap, because they had all the books, and I would borrow the books. Hey, yeah, man, have a good day at your day job, and I'd get their books, and I'd be like, a foggy day in London town, and learn all the jazz standards that way, and then be funny in between, and trying to get the two to meet. Finally came about. Wasn't so much with like Tom Lehrer or anybody like that, but it was listening to Louis Jordan. Let me tell you a story, goes way back. Come on down and dig me, Jack. You got Big Mo, and that stuff was incredibly musical, but at the same time funny as hell. So that was like a sort of tilt-down band for me. That's sort of a crossover to bring the musicality into that. And you were talking about writing. I was writing right away. And I was wondering, if you guys sound like, as soon as you found out you were musical, did you start writing right away?
I tried to.
What about you, Molly? Did you write right away too?
I've been, writing since I was very little, but didn't write them down until I was in high school. But there was always I wrote when my brother was born and I was 5, I wrote a song for him. And my mom still wrote a song. Yeah, thanks. He's not here, he can't hear you, But yeah, just sort of the drive to, and also I don't know, I'm from a musical family. My mom was the cantor at our church, and so I had a sort of sense of, it's not that hard to get up and lead a group in song. That was never a scary thing, but it was also, that's the thing that my mom does. And then I found bluegrass and went, music's the thing you do as well. Oh, cool. Let me just play some strings. How about you, Andy? Was that, I've already forgotten the question. Sorry.
Humor and music.
Yeah, and sort of, were there any not even like a craving for legitimacy, but certainly any sort of habits you felt you had to break, like things that you were holding back in your composition?
Well, I think it was very, like when I first started writing songs when I was 16 or whatever, it was really hard to not just want to hide under imitating somebody. Like I just wanted to have written a song that people would look at as a song. And you know, then you try to write a song that sounds like some other person's song. And so that it's complete garbage because it's, you know, like a fake Bob Dylan is really terrible.
Right, you're following the footsteps on the floor, but you don't know how to dance.
And you don't know what you're talking about. You know, like you're trying to be angsty and you're 16 and like you don't, like you know, you're writing about anything but your own life because your own life seems so small and uninteresting, and you're trying to hide. You know, like you're trying to hide everything.
And you're sort of adapting the trappings of sophistication without actually knowing where any of it.
Yeah, without being sophisticated because you're 16. So it's just
Let me translate that for you people. They didn't know shit.
Just little song bits. These
no
shits.
So I guess that would be a question I'd ask you guys. Like, do you feel like you gotta go through something to write like a good song about it?
I think you just have to write a lot of songs I think you have to master the form of living your feelings in music in some way, and then whatever is inside of you will start to come out. You know, but I don't think you can say, I have this thing to say. I have to express myself. I think that, I don't know, like you have to, music is like learning a language and then you speak whatever you speak in it. And for me that really just took a long time, and I went through a lot of permutations and played like kind of punky art rock that was fairly unlistenable, and then I was like, fuck that, and played like stuff in the 80s that was very 80s dance music. You know, post new wave dance music. We were really influenced by like the Gap Band and stuff, and that's when there was like bow, 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 a lot of that stuff, slabbity blabbity, and then I got, you know, and then I started writing songs.
Where do you go at?
Slabbity blabbity,
Slappity blabbity.
You know what I'm talking about, probably.
Yeah, but it's you. Yeah, you know, you went not to do it. You went not to do it. It's
The first thing I ever played was a Chic song, like on bass, because I was so into that like thumb stuff.
What was it? Freak Out?
Slapping. I want your love. Bum, 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 bum.
Oh.
It's a real digression for me and the two bass fans on this.
No, you just did well. I don't know what to say because that song has a style of bass in it called I can't remember what it's called, but he hits it with his thumb and then comes back with the finger.
But, yeah.
And it's.
That's all I wanted to do. That's what I first started out doing. Yeah. And then in Berkeley, you know, you play jazz, so I learned how to
walk right,
in jazz
sure.
changes. Kind of, like not that great. And so, but you can, you know, but both of those elements are in my bass playing.
I'm looking at the stage and say, like, look, Aimee Mann coming out. Yeah, Aimee Mann will come out tune the bass. That's so nice. She's doing it for Jonathan. I'm in my sexist ass. I'm like, I wonder who the bass player is going to be. What's that? Who the play bass? Aimee Mann play bass? And something in the back of my mind said, fool, Aimee Mann plays bass. Yeah, that's great. So you knew what not to do and what to do, and I love what you do because, and I know you must get so sick of hearing it, but it's so solid and you don't swear.
Huh? Yeah.
I mean, you're like the Sinbad of songwriting.
Thanks for noticing that. You know, I never make a big deal of
Sorry,
it.
mother, I just ran into shit.
No, it's okay. It's all based in Philadelphia. Like
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome to the Bass in Philadelphia show.
Yeah, I never try to make a big deal of it, you know, but I had a lot of people, which one thing I really loved about the JoCo crowd is that they were really listening. You know, like when you hear rap, you think slappity blabbity sometimes. You know, so for people to come back to me like, man, you told a story, it was so clear, and you didn't have any profanity, that was cool. You know, it's definitely something I did on purpose because when I first started, I was a teacher. And when I had time, I would give my students my music, like as gifts. I would bribe them. Hey, if you're good today, I got a new CD, you know. Things like that. Or I'd play songs for them. I kind of test songs out. because no one's going to be more honest than an 8th grader. You know? So if it sucks, they'll tell you. You know, so I appreciated that. So yeah, I kept it clean for them, and then it just kind of stuck from there. You know? I never got to a point where I was like, oh man, how am I going to end this rhyme that started off with brother truckers, you know, like it's just never happened to me where I had a point where I just absolutely needed it to put it in there. But you know, if I feel like you know, words are just colors.
Have you ever slipped while freestyling?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It's not always a slip. Sometimes it's like if the funniest word is a cuss word there, then that's just what's going to happen. I try not to write it, but yeah, if it happens, it happens. But yeah, if I really had something to say, one of my professors told me, NWA, when it had a really important message to send about police brutality in Los Angeles in the early 90s. And if they had made a song called Darn the Police, would it have been as effective as if they said fuck the police?
That's right.
And it would not have. So like absolutely that was the time for that color and to be used. And it's like, that's the thing, if you use it like a weapon, it'll be effective, you know. If you're using it every day, it's not effective.
What about you, Molly? What about you, Molly? Tell us a little movie. But I'm taking your thing over. Molly.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
This is the Vance show.
Give me these
Take them
notes.
notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask this.
Yeah.
Who/when inspired you to start writing? Molly.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Molly.
Well, Weird Al for certain, and Tom Lahirs is up there. Absolutely. Bob Dorough of Schoolhouse Rock. I feel like the lesson of Schoolhouse Rock is if you can make the threes table slap, you can make anything slap.
Truth.
And it really just broadened my perspective. And I played guitar initially. I was in a Dixie Chicks cover band. Never mind. It was a thing.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah, no, I played mandolin.
Not on the internet.
No, that was a time before YouTube's, if you can believe it or not.
Wow.
But like initially, because I played guitar, I played like, you know, Beatles songs and Nora Jones and whatever. And the thing that I brushed up against that I immediately didn't like was grown-ups, well-meaning grown-ups, trying to pay me a compliment would be like, oh, you sound just like Michelle Branch, or you sound just like Jewel, or you sound just like, and yeah. Like
I'm sure they're both very nice.
I'm sure. Well, I don't know about Jewel, but I
don't know why it didn't come.
I found it like I felt like I was being put in a box, right?
Yeah.
And in 2005, nobody was playing ukulele on a scale, and so I would pull it out, and people would be like, "What the heck is that?" And it sort of broke me out of that, like, needing to imitate, or the feeling like, well, when they see me, they see through me to somebody else that they'd rather have up here, you know?
Well, all ladies sound alike.
It's true. I just can't see your boobs behind that guitar, so I can't tell you who you are.
Let me take a gander and then I'll tell you.
Let me see them jams.
Was anybody
You
at
don't
this
want to
table?
talk about boobs with guys built like me and Mega, man. Am I right there, bro? Come here, man. You know, you don't have corner market and boob over here.
Yeah, I mean, do you ever get people who want to see your boobs behind your guitar? I tell you what, I got a see-through ukulele. It's a whole Jenny from Forrest Gump situation going on.
No, when you're built like a toilet paper tube with pipe cleaner arms and legs, nobody wants to see what's behind the axe. Which leads to more need for legitimacy when you're not rocking the look, you know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Mega Man looks like $1 million right now.
Yeah. Thanks.
But in sort of that quest for legitimacy, do you feel, like how much do your personal aesthetics, how much do you factor those into sort of your stage presentation? Or do you try to, like, well, no, really it's about the music, like, how do you strike the balance of, like, letting the music shine first, but not, like, I'm not sure what I'm trying to ask.
I think it's important to be self-aware and sometimes
I agree.
addressing the elephant in the room or whatever. I've had people come, you're
Really?
a
Is that
rapper? You, well, maybe it's not the right term to use, but you're a rapper. You don't look like a rap artist, or you don't look like a singer, or you don't look like, what does that look like, And sometimes, immediately addressing that on stage. Hey, I'm your math teacher. Now, let's do some songs. You know what I mean? Things like that can disarm the audience and immediately just, I think win them over. So I've had to fight through that a bit, and I don't really mind it too much. I actually kind of welcome it. I love coming into an audience who maybe doesn't know who I am, isn't sure what they're going to get when I open my mouth.
They're riveted with wonder.
Yeah.
When I walk into a place with an acoustic guitar, and this comes to race, what do people, anybody want to raise their hand thinking, if I walk into a place with an acoustic guitar and it's a Joe Average or Susie Average kind of venue, what do they think that I'm going to play? Not you people, or what do they think I'm going to play? Exactly, blues.
Blues.
He's got to play the blues. And, then when I do, Randy Newman covers, people are messed up. That messes people up. So, yeah, the body and the look means something. I like to be kind of neutral. I was talking with Mike Kaplan about our beards and how, as mine gets whiter, my face is starting to wash out. So that's why when you see me tomorrow night, I'll actually have red glasses, because it makes it sit up a little bit more. So the body gets washed out. I wear long, floppy things to make me look longer than I am. And anybody see me jogging this morning? All right, but I went.
Congratulations.
Nice.
No, I go like 5 days a week. It's not pretty, but I go.
Props.
But that's just, otherwise, I'm not built the way you are. I don't carry it as beautifully as you do, because you're a good-sized man. If I...
Thanks, I guess.
Yeah, no, you look good in what you do. But if I was larger, I'd start falling apart. I just know that I would, and I wouldn't carry the things about me that I know should be carried the way they could be carried. And I'm still heavy, but I can at least carry this without feeling like I don't look right. And that's all body image. We're all different that way. But yeah, that's my. And does it affect my writing? Nah.
Do you feel that your approach, was it? No, there's a whole other page of
I
no.
just wonder why your writing is so small. It's so cute.
Oh, thanks. I'm just small and efficient in every capacity. But do you feel that you were sort of drawn to create because you found creators you connected with, or you were trying to incentivize your students, or you were trying to sort of you were just absorbing a lot of what was around you and trying to give it back in kind. Do you feel that your composition process has changed now that you have found an audience? Is it sort of more personal, less personal, more or less structured? Do you treat it? Do you have a system? Please tell me if you have a system. I would love to have a system.
I love systems.
Oh my God. Do you have a system, Aimee Mann? What is your system?
Well,
I assumed you had a system.
there's a lot of systems. There's a lot of systems. I mean, in lyric writing, something that I learned from Jonathan Colton by working with him. He will always have like a joke that you have to back engineer a verse from, so that the last thing is like the funniest rhyme, like the funniest line. Which, now that I say it, seems obvious, but I think just seeing him immediately already know that and go to it is like, yeah, think of your funniest line and don't necessarily start from the beginning. Sometimes you have to work backwards. And he's just so fucking brilliant at that.
Yeah.
So that's like, a little system within a system.
Yeah, and lyric is unique. Like there's sort of the camps of like music can stand on its own and doesn't need lyric, but lyric needs music, which is the Boja camp. Boo upon him. I know.
Bo's just here to heckle us
I
when we
know.
talk about lyrics.
But the lyric is unique in that you have to pad time for the audience to process what you have said.
Yeah.
It's not like, the written word where you can allow.
Part of the writing process
Right.
is to know how it's going to feel in your mouth when you sing it, to know how it's going to work with the tone of the music, to know how it's going to hit people as it goes by. But that's like, all these facets that make a puzzle that to me makes writing just so fucking fun.
Yeah.
I love all of that stuff. I love when you fit all of those things together and it just clicks in. It is so exciting.
I would agree with that. I'm going to back into what you were talking about backing into the song. When I think of, I go on sacred ground here. Please don't correct me if I don't get it right, but some of it's new to me. But I've been trying to talk him into the next time if I come back here, I'm going to demand that he teach a melody writing class, and that's Jonathan. He's got the most monster melody. He's so melodic. It's scary. And to have a melody with the very clearly big-headed, small glass guy with this tiny hands, I can picture him saying, "Isn't it enough that I ruined a pony trying to impress you?" And the melody is going up. It's
That
like, and you can see.
Yeah, and the lyric with that melody and the beautiful melody, which is kind of heartbreaking and yet
Crazy.
I mean, one of the, like when you guys were talking about humor in music, like the thing I love so much about humor in music is in order for it to be really funny, it has to be better than good. It has to be, to be funny, it has to be really true.
That's right.
And it can't be throwaway and it can't be half-baked. And when you get that thing that's really true, that Code Monkey thing, maybe manager should write the goddamn login code himself. It's like, it's like a little punch because it's funny, but it's so fucking accurate and feels effortlessly conversational. And the way people talk, and it's got all of those things in it, and it's angry, and it's just fucking everything, and it just really gets to me.
Please talk about then the bravery it takes to take a funny line and bury it and hope that your audience sees it as it goes by rather than that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's one of the things Jonathan does well.
Yeah.
That's when, as you were rapping, things were going by that were like,
There's a part to
people were
that.
looking, my friend and Amy and I were like, did he say that? It's like, did he say that?
Yeah,
That's
there
a
are
great
times
place
to know.
live.
You
And
gotta-
it's brave. It's brave.
And it's
Super.
mixtures of funny and Molly has a song, the Pantsuit Sasquatch, that is funny because it's so accurate and it's just fucking heartbreaking. So you're laughing and sobbing at the same time with how just true everything is. And that's I don't know, that is a real skill. It's amazing.
What compels somebody to listen to a song like that? What brings them in and suddenly slaps them around because they realize they're listening to that
I
song?
don't know, it's almost like a trick. You think it's going to be funny and you're like, oh, this will be enjoyable. Ow.
Right. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. Well, and music is it's a participatory experience. And I don't think any of us write in the style to be played in the back of an Italian restaurant while people are eating and talking. We write for an engaged and we're fortunate to have an intelligent audience that can catch when you're freestyling.
I did that for 3 years.
Did you really?
And it was some of the best training. I used to have 300-400 jazz standards at recall.
It's got to be a great practice.
I was at the Howard Johnson's in Kenmore Square at the top of the Starlight Roof for 3 years. Anybody remember?
Wow.
Somebody applaud.
But I was the guy, rather than sit at the piano and do it, and used to piss off the manager, I'd wear a tux and sit in the crook of the piano with my nylon string guitar and cover everything from James Taylor to Gershwin to
Fantastic.
Antonio Carlos Jobim.
So you just soak all that stuff up and then
Yeah.
And then it comes out in your own way.
It's in your vocabulary.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
But it was a long time after that before I got brave enough to start putting things in songs that were not blatant, that you had to listen. I had to trust, and this comes to the confidence thing and being heavy or funny looking or whatever I might have been as a little kid. Did I trust the audience to hear what I was doing? No. I was an over singer. I scattered at every possibility. I tried to. I was tap dancing through every song rather than getting a John Prine or a Bob Dylan record and trying to figure out why they were successful.
Well, that's an interesting point. Like my approach to songwriting was I'm telling a story, and I want to stay out of the way as a singer and just let the story be told. And that means the story has to be good. Yeah, like I can't tell you how you're supposed to feel about it.
I didn't do that till last Thursday.
But also, I am not a showboaty, scatty singer. I can't do that. Like if I had...
Neither could I!
If I had... Oh, that's funny. You couldn't, but you did. Yeah.
You know, it was okay, but no one wanted to hear that, you know?
Well, was it that you didn't trust that the audience would remain engaged, or that you didn't trust yourself to keep the audience engaged?
Yes. Yes, I mean, when you're not confident in the core of your soul, all of those things are real. What about with you?
Same thing with, well, kind of the other way with me, where when you start off rapping, you want to show how technically good you are at the skill of putting words together. So you wind up making these nonsense raps, you know, where they're just how many words can rhyme together, and you know, people think that's amazing. But I guess the age-old challenge with rappers is people believe that there's no rap song that can make you cry, you know, or that can make you feel something, you know. So as you get older and you know, you become a little more vulnerable. So to answer part of your earlier question, I think once now, 10 plus years of writing and traveling, I'm more comfortable with myself and all of myself, and I'm able to tell stories that I've never told before, tell them in new ways, and really elicit emotional responses from audiences, which is, I think, the real win. You know, not necessarily the technical side of it. I mean, Tupac is revered throughout hip hop, and not necessarily as a lyricist, but just as a guy who makes you feel things. You know, and so I've been able to place a lot more emphasis on the feeling side of things going forward. You know.
Can I ask him a question? Do you still feel that same way about yourself? And another thing my friend and I were noticing about you is that I call you a Lauryn Hill rapper. And the reason why I call you that is because not only do you rap, but you sing your ass off. Which is like when you open your mouth to sing. And if I bore a sacred cow with this, I apologize. But if you're on the fence about rap, that's the guy, because there are portions of where he raps and he opens his mouth to sing, and if you're not taken by the rap, you are legitimized immediately by your vocal chops.
Well, thank you.
And the end tune while you were walking in through the crowd and the tape dumped and everything else. I'm not listening. We're listening to him, and we're saying, God, he's still in tune.
Thank you.
He's still in tune. He's like
That's
singing his
important.
line.
I think that.
And it's incredibly musical. It's not just. And maybe that's my lack of maturity in myself, that rap can't just be rap on its own. But if a rapper's rapping, I'm like, okay, it's cool. But then you open your mouth to sing, and I'm a fan immediately. I said, man,
Okay.
I hope he doesn't dance.
That's about the one thing I don't quite do is dance, so I'm safe there. But thanks, though. I appreciate that. Staying on tune and on melody and on beat, it's just, you know, that's like cardinal sin of hip hop, you know. It almost doesn't matter how great you are if you're just not on beat, you know. If you can't follow that.
On beat is different than melodically. There's a lot of rappers that go this way and they go that way. And it's like, okay. They're feigning at a melody, but you sing. Don't take away from yourself that you sing. Thank
you. It's weird because that's the thing that, like, on stage, I'm able to, and this is something I would love to bring back to you guys. I feel like I'm able to do things on stage that I'm a lot more afraid to do in the studio. Or vice versa. Have you guys had situations like that? Like, I've had people tell me, like, your singing is great. And then I get into the studio and somebody's like, well, you should sing on this. And I'm like, I'm afraid, you know?
Oh.
So, how do you guys, like, deal with that? Or is that a situation where you've been like, I could totally do this in the studio, but I would never try it live, or vice versa? Is that happening?
I think it's more likely that I would do something in the studio that I wouldn't, you know, or a certain kind of song, you know, and sometimes maybe that's just because in the studio I can hear myself sing better and I can, you know, get that high falsetto or something, and it's just not tenable on stage. But the other way around, I don't think that ever happens to me.
Yeah, I mean, I find the studio to be a weirdly sort of sterile environment. You kind of can't get into sort of for lack of a better word, like the flow. You can't kind of
that's true.
fully, you know, get the song into your body, and you sort of, I find I over scrutinize. I don't know, what is it like in the studio for you?
I take this, I've been at it a longer time, and I've taken very much pride in the fact that I've learned to make my studio thing freer and go ahead and chase that shit around and go like, I'm going to take this chance because you know what? It's not even tape anymore. It isn't costing anybody any money like this.
Right.
So I'm going to take that chance that wouldn't happen on stage. And guess what? If I don't get it, I can go back and try it again. That's slamming to me. I actually, I wouldn't have said this. I wouldn't have said this 10 years ago. But now the studio is a playground for me. First of all, and I hate to say this, any studio engineers out there, you guys have to work for cheap because anybody can record. So studio prices have plummeted. There's folks out there working for 40 or 50 bucks an hour, and that's pocket change, studio-wise. And now I'm willing to go in and try anything. I said, I don't quite sound right, rapper. Can we try that again? You know, I'll chase it around.
Nice. Related. Have any of you, do you have songs maybe in your repertoire that you've recorded where you're like, oh, I'll never play that live? Like, it's just not a song that, for whatever reason, emotionally, technically, it's just not happening live, you know? What are the reasons? I'd be curious.
Yeah, I have for a songwriting challenge, I wrote a metal song about marshmallow peeps.
Fucking fantastic.
I want to hear that.
Yeah,
It's
we
called-
need to hear that now.
It's called Peep Fight. It's,
We need this.
no, and I mean, like, I threw, yes, thank you, yes, peeps, that is what I said. Yeah, because I just threw every, like, because I was a freshman in college with GarageBand, and I just threw every distortion pack that they had. And also the challenge was to write a song that was 10 different words or fewer. And so they're just these truncated sentences, and I pride myself on my lyrics, so it was a little bit embarrassing, but I don't know that I have one that is like so emotionally raw that I don't feel comfortable presenting it to people. Just on a production side, it's embarrassing.
You're looking at me?
Yeah, I don't. I told you about Johnny Dicklegs earlier this week, and you looked at me like I just stepped on a baby. So, okay.
I was processing it. It sounds great.
It's very funny. It's filthy.
I mean, you have to pick a favorite child. It's at some point. But.
There's a lot of songs I won't play live, and that's usually because too many fucking chords.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that'll be cute and modulate, and now I'm playing all bar chords, which I can't play anymore. It's, you know, or it's too high, or you know, it's usually not usually for emotional reasons. Although there's a song I can't play because I have weird negative associations with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have played it, but it is like I have a song that has a bridge that I later realized was probably about my father, and I really can't sing that. Like, it's I've done it, but it's hard, and I have to go like, just fucking get through the songs. Don't think about your father. And it's, but it's weird, especially when you write something and you're like, I didn't think that's what I was writing about, but every time I sing it, I'm like, this is like my father.
That's some shit.
Yeah.
Sean Colvin, who was oddly enough a real mentor of mine, I toured with her for, good.
She's so great.
I did the Fat City tour. I did her whole U.S. tour with her. And she said something to me that stuck with me. It just stuck with me. It didn't have to be a dare, but it kind of ended up one, and I didn't follow it for years, but I kind of get it. She says, I will never record a song that I can't sit down and play in some auspice or another. And I think there was a lot of truth to that, just because there was. And I found that the songs that...
Sorry, I'm trying to get this thing. Did I break something?
Sorry.
Cool.
I had the bass with the green beans. What I'm finding is that the songs that I did record that I don't play out, and that was a slip with the tongue I did. I actually can't play out because I either lots of chords and it just doesn't sit up solo because I'm solo 99% of the time, or B, you know what? It's just not that great.
Right. Yeah. That's a bad feeling.
It was good for the album, and when it comes by on a playlist or something, okay, I'd rather have heard something else. But I'm not playing it out for a reason.
Yeah. Because it feels awkward to kind of, because I have songs like that, and it feels like stepping into like a person I used to be. And sort of trying to sort of wear clothes that don't fit. Is that?
Yeah.
That second thing is more me. It's like a suit that's just badly cut.
You just can't move. Yeah. I want to go back to a question that Megaran brought up, that we started just talking, we were reminding Aimee how great she is at bass. But
Please continue admiring me.
in conclusion, Aimee's great at the bass.
See?
That's a consensus. But you asked if we feel like we have to go through an experience in order to write about it. Am I misphrasing that?
Or that does going through like great emotional intensity make it easier to write?
Yeah.
And I think in this sort of in this group, sort of JoCo and Friends of JoCo, there is I think a validity to in the filk music scene and sort of nerd parody music. They will give it up for filk. There's a lot of songs about like Star Trek and Doctor Who where I think it's valid to sort of process your emotional reaction to a piece of fiction, and I think it's a good exercise in sort of externalizing an emotional experience in song without having to sort of mine your own unprocessed feelings and then later find out, oops, that's about my dad, or similar. And I don't know how, because I think there's sort of a tightrope you're walking, right? Of wanting to be honest in your songwriting, but not wanting to be completely crack your ribs open and just show your beating heart all the time. And how do you thread that needle of wanting to process your experience without like exposing the people involved, or in some way feeling like you're, mining something that is hard to replenish? Does that make sense?
I'll say probably what I do is sort of a mental trick. My system is, I usually have a bit of music, maybe not an entire sort of verse worth of music, but like some starting piece. And it's a bit of a Rorschach test, like what does this music sound like it's about? Like what is the emotional core of this? What is this making me feel? And then what is a story that goes along with that? Which is how you end up writing.
You're a storyteller, that's your damn job.
But then that is how you end up writing unconsciously about your father. Like where you're like, this is just a story that isn't necessarily mine. And then there's that moment as you're writing where you sing something and you're like, and then you hear it back and it hits you in a totally different way.
Yeah. And that seems to be what separates from like the 16-year-old who is just imitating Dylan and the adult who is reprocessing their influences into something new. Vance, you look like you're about to say something.
No, I'm so agreeing with this. I just, anybody ever heard of a Mary Chapin Carpenter, country singer-songwriter? She was asked, I think it's legend now, she was asked about a certain song. It might have been a song called This Old Shirt, which is an incredible piece of writing. And somebody asked her, is that song true? And the classic answer to that is, I think she said to somebody, yes, it's true. It's just maybe not necessarily true about me.
Wow.
You know, because you're a storyteller. If you had to write about everything that only happened to you, there'd be a lot of folded socks and underwear in the drawer. I mean, it's like, that's what most of my day is. I'm not living any big ass life for anybody. I got no needle tracks, and I like potatoes. So, and they don't like me. There's a song there somewhere, you know, but you know what I mean? I mean, you're
And it's fascinating to me to, you know, if I start writing about somebody else, which I often will, a friend of mine who's in whatever circumstance, and I'll write about them, and this song is about them, and then suddenly it will intersect with me, and it's always a surprise. Like, I always think it's always a surprise, but it's always like, I love those moments because I like, I don't know, it's the song kind of takes its course and then suddenly shows up at my door.
Yeah, you recognize your own perspective and how you've laid these other things out.
Yeah.
And it kind of allows you to sort of examine it in the third person.
And I like being able to relate to other people. I love writing in the first person from somebody else's point of view.
Yeah.
How much are you in looking at yourself?
I would say a lot now, but sometimes it is, a lot of times accidental. Same way, like I'll be writing about a video game or something, and next thing you know, just my own stories will get weaved in and out. And same thing, I'll listen back and be like, whoa, that was totally about the relationship I was going through at the time. And I can pick that stuff out later, going back to it, being like, yeah, that wasn't really about the game anymore, you know. But that's usually what I do. I pick a thing that somehow, or some story element can relate to either what I've gone through, or a friend's gone through, or what people go through every day, and how we can make it relatable on a level where someone who isn't a diehard gamer, or you know, or a comic book reader, can still understand this story. And yeah, I find bits and pieces of myself. Sometimes I don't even realize I dropped them, you know. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's.
When you sing it back later, yeah, you hear it in a different way.
Yep,
I do have that
absolutely.
experience a lot. You know, sometimes years later, having to relate to a thing that I'm going through then.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and the habit I feel I've broken myself of recently is I've stopped asking myself, what is this song about?
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, what, yeah, it's not,
Process that.
there's no one answer for one. And when I started out, Randy Newman was a big influence, because he's said that one of his driving influences as a songwriter was not to write more love songs. Because, God, there are so many love songs. And I went, what a hero. Oh my God, what else can you write songs about? But like, what is Davey the Fat Boy about? You know, what is Short People about?
Right. He's so outside of his own body experience with those songs.
Yeah.
To the point that he's caught shit about them, you know?
Yeah.
But he's so capable of writing from over here. He's not from Louisiana either.
No.
All the way down to Plaquemines. It's like, I didn't know where Plaquemines was until I heard Louisiana, you know?
Yeah.
But he embodied it. And, you know, if he does it, and then Aaron Neville covers it with the same string section, you know that you've done okay.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
well, that was uncomfortable as hell, that little silence. Damn, girl, say something. Come on.
I'm sorry. I put down my notes. You made me self-conscious about my notes.
Should we take a question?
We have about 3 minutes, so we could certainly take a question.
I think Jim Boja has some questions. I can't believe you didn't give me the a double bird on that.
He's too.
Yeah, Robert.
Oh, we got a chuckle bird from Robert.
You have a question?
All right.
Question. Oh, Mike's coming.
We got a question. Oh.
Right there.
So John Roderick was talking earlier this week about the fact that when he started writing, he put so many chords in his songs, and now he doesn't anymore. And I was wondering what, on the more music side of things, what your experiences with your songwriting has been. Do you put less chords in your songs now, or do you put in even more?
Is this for me or
All of you.
us? Well, I'll start. I've been writing songs for musicals in the last couple of years, and that's like, fuck it, I could put sevenths in now, and I had 6 chords and modulate halfway through a verse. I don't give a shit. And it's been really, so like, yes, more chords, probably. It's been very liberating. It's very fun.
I think I'm probably. I felt the need to like show off my ukulele prowess when I started writing. Yeah, you know that feeling of. I mean, what? Like I am. This is, take me seriously, me tiny person on this tiny instrument. And I feel like I've relaxed into fewer chords. Also because I've been teaching my songs to people, including like band members, and it's been really embarrassing to have to just tell them like, I don't know, it's these notes. What note is this? Yeah, it's just going by shapes.
Same, I feel like I've been simplifying I mean, lyrically, I feel like it's something that I've learned how to say more with less, I guess, and just making the words and the message much more powerful with less words, less technical tricks and studio tricks and things like that. I'm a big believer of being able to play it live if you can play it, you know, but at the same time, the studio is there for a reason and it's a tool, so you should use that. But yeah, but about lyrically anyway, like just trying to say more with less.
Well, hello. It's been a long, long time. How you doing? Well, I think I'm doing fine. It seemed like such a long time, but it's only been yesterday. Ain't it funny how time slips away? It's 3.5 chords there. Barely. And it's you that song is set up that it's like, oh, so the shit is gonna happen.
Yeah.
3 chords. And that has been such a change for me. I mean, I was all over the place with chords, and then you go to listen to the masters between Willie Nelson and John Prine, Lucinda Williams, and these people that are particularly out of the country realm, and they're telling the stories and cutting you wide open with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think when I started out, I just didn't know any chords, so I used the ones I had. And now, every time I learn a new thing, then I stick it in.
Now, on that note, we got to clear out to get ready for church. But thank you, everybody, for coming to Songwriters on Ships Getting Questions.
thank you.
Thank you.